Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about two new upcoming maps in Battlefield 4. The first one is Zavod Graveyard Shift. This is the nighttime version of Zavod 311. You can actually play on the community test environment version of Battlefield 4 right now if you would like, and try it out for yourself. It is a gorgeous looking map, although you can't see a lot of it at any one particular time. It is a cool new visual effect. They're going for a true nighttime map. And what do I mean by true nighttime map? Well, there's plenty of nighttime maps in other Battlefield games, but the moon is usually illuminating the heck out of everything, so it's very easy to see your surrounding environments and soldiers running around. True nighttime means that unless you're shining a light on it, it's probably going to be pitch black or almost impossible to see, and you're going to have to use devices like flashlights or IR&V scopes just to see people that you're shooting at, which completely changes the dynamic of the gameplay, changes up how the map flows, changes up how all the combat flows, and what devices and weapons are even useful in this kind of situation. Even the spotting mechanics had to be tweaked for the nighttime mode so that spotting players wasn't too overpowered and that you actually had to look and search for the targets that you're shooting at rather than spamming the Q button. The first things I noticed when playing this on nighttime versus playing it on daylight is that the gameplay becomes instantaneously much more campy. If you're not spotted as easily and things are very dark and hard to see, people are going to camp on points. They're going to sneak around. They're going to wait for things to happen, which is a natural effect from any sort of map where your vision is greatly inhibited. And a suppressor goes hand in hand with that camping process. Most players I ran into were running suppressors. I started running one. Staying off that mini map is even more important in a map that is this dark because players are going to be relying on any sort of indication to help them find the enemy, especially the minimap. The power of vehicles becomes even more extreme. You would think that they would be very easy to spot and deal with because of the headlights and taillights that are always on now on tanks and APCs. However, once you equip infrared night vision on these things or thermal optics, it becomes incredibly easy to just see all the infantry around the map, no problem. And as an infantry user, even though you can see headlights and taillights of armor, sometimes it can be really hard to determine if the tank is actually looking at you, especially from a distance. So you have even less tools and information to tell you how much of a threat armor is to you. Now check it out with this infrared night vision on here. It's kind of crazy how much of an advantage I have over the people I'm playing against right now. It looks very cool, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed playing this a lot. We'll just have to see how the balance plays out in the long run. Helicopters are pretty difficult vehicles to use as well, and AA tanks seem almost overpowered in this game now because they're incredibly good at taking out infantry. They have infrared and thermal optics as an option, and helicopters are going to have a really hard time taking them out, or air vehicles in general are going to have a very hard time getting close to them. So I just worry about some of the armor versus infantry balance once all the lights are turned off. And we can expect to see this map in a patch come September. Not sure when in September, but that is the official release date, sometime September. So I'm pretty excited about that, especially since I don't have to pay anything extra to get it. Now let's talk about the community map project. This map has recently seen a pretty substantial update to the point where I think most of the design must be pretty much finalized right now. It plays really well. The design changes in the last update were very substantial, changes the flow of the gameplay and even the visual styling of the level in a very significant way. They now have some cool trees with vines and stuff hanging down from them. It looks much more jungly. During one of the last iterations, I made a video talking about how I felt that this map was more of a medium to long range map because of how open it was and how vehicle friendly it was, especially because of the openness at parts. And now the current version has got a lot more cover surrounding the capture points, and it becomes much more infantry friendly because of it. The temple itself has been completely redesigned. Infantry firefights in and around the temple are much more enjoyable now because there's more cover, and if a tank or an APC rolls by the temple, it's not necessarily just going to be easy peasy for them to take out tons and tons of infantry. There's a lot more cover, so they just have to tread lightly. And when you're in the actual jungle itself, it feels much more dense now. The shadows are more intense, so it's actually pretty hard to locate your enemy because of just the massive amount of textures and stuff going on. It can be a little tricky for your eye to focus on where the actual threat is. visually the map has matured a lot. It actually looks like it's almost done. There's definitely some problem areas here and there, and some of the collision boxes around the map can be a little weird. You think you'll be shooting around a rock and you're just hitting a giant invisible wall, but there's frankly a lot of stuff in this map, and it doesn't make sense to do a lot of collision box passes before you've got the finalized design of the map. But in its current state, I have to say I really like the design. Plenty of infantry cover, lots of destruction. The capture points don't favor armor too much. It's a really nice balance of gameplay. The one thing that I'm not totally in love with is the fact that it is by nature a jungle map, which means that enemies can attack you from any single direction. At any point in time, you gotta be watching all 360 degrees around you. I mean, generally speaking, you'll have a decent idea of where the enemy might be coming from, but they're also parachuting out of transport helicopters, sneaking up through the jungle in various methods, and so you're going to get shot in the back a lot. So it's always going to keep you on your toes, since there aren't really any sort of lanes per se in this map. And although we have a very visually impressive map, it definitely takes a chunk out of your frame rate. So if you're used to getting a pretty high frame rate, expect to lose quite a few on this map. It's probably one of the more graphically intensive maps out there. I'm not sure if they've finalized the optimization pass on this map yet, or if it's going to get a better frame rate once they optimize it a bit better, but in its current state, I'm probably getting like on average 30 or 40 less frames than I normally do on some of the other just standard Conquest maps. Now, because of the often chaotic nature of this map, suppressors make a lot of sense. It's helpful to stay off that mini-map, because if you're just running willy-nilly through the jungle and you don't really know what direction you're going to get attacked from, you're going to be checking that mini-map non-stop to see where those little red triangles show up. If you got that suppressor on and you're not showing up on the mini-map, chances are you're going to stay alive a lot longer. Now, it is great that we're getting the Zavod 311 nighttime map in September, along with a pretty big substantial patch that's hopefully going to improve a lot of things in the game, but we don't yet have a release date for this map here. And I have to say, it looks pretty much done in its current state, aside from a lot of polishing and tweaking with collision boxes and stuff like that. I'm very happy with how the gameplay flows so far in this map, and it would be so awesome if the devs could somehow get this map ready to launch in the September patch as well. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of servers just dedicated to playing this map 24/7. I think it's definitely one of the better maps we have in Battlefield 4 so far. And if you're like me and super impatient and want to play all this content right now, you can always download the CTE and try it out for yourself. Let me know in the comments what you think about the new nighttime map, how you think it's going to play out, if you've played it before, and what you think. As always, guys, I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.